Hello, um, I'm Nicholas Lozano, and this is my video format test number 4. Um, I'm going to be picking two biomes and going down the bullet points of different questions that's asked. So, the two biomes I have picked are the desert and the tropical rainforest. Those were the two I did my research on with these questions. So, I'll do the best I can to answer them to the best of my knowledge. But yeah, so the first question is it wants me to answer the type of plants that grow and basically their impact. So for the desert, um, there aren't a whole lot of plants that grow in the desert. It's a lot of dry wasteland. So that in turn actually has a big impact on the animals that live there because the desert consists of camels and a lot of small animals too. Um, Consists of camels, tortoises, numerous snakes, but a lot of them are living animals. They need water, and with a place like the desert that's so lackluster in water, a lot of the water you're gonna get are from the plants. So that's how the plants kind of have an effect on the animals. Is that plants like a cactus um, are almost essential to get water since it's not very common in the desert. With the rainforest, it's almost the complete opposite. There's not a lot of wasteland, there's a lot of animals in it, and there's a lot of water. That in turn, all that water will actually grow more plants, which help a lot of the smaller animals actually, like the frogs. It helps them camouflage in the green plants to basically to basically stay out of view of larger predators. So I would say the plants' effect on animals in the rainforest would be to help them camouflage and hide from predators. So that's what I have so far on the plants. In terms of the soil, what I found was interesting. I tried to do as much research as I could, but I kept finding the same answer. With the desert, the soil is mostly sand, but from what I found, it lacks a lot of water, or it lacks a lot of nutrients. With the lack of water in plants, it lacks nutrients. Um, so the soil, and from what I found, the sand in the soil has some minerals, but from what I've researched, lacks in nutrients. That's what I have. And the thing that confused me was, since the reasoning was it lacked water and plants, that was the reason it didn't have nutrients. I thought the opposite would apply to a tropical rainforest, but from what I found, tropical rainforest doesn't have many nutrients in their soil either. Most of the nutrients is trapped in vegetation and trees. Um, so that's so far what I found with soil for the two places. And the last one is just asking a hypothetical scenario. If you were to build a parking lot here, what would happen? So for the desert, I'm not too sure much of anything would happen, solely because of the fact that there's a lot of wasteland in the desert, and very few animals. Like, there's a lot of animals in the desert, but in the grand scheme of things, compared to other biomes, the desert doesn't have too many animals or inhabiting every inch that you'd walk through it. So I would say that building a parking lot, you might have a few animals visiting that parking lot, but it wouldn't do too much in ruining their homes. They'd probably just move on to another bit of wasteland. And that's how it would work for a desert, I believe. Um, this is a lot of stuff I didn't do research on. I had to base my own knowledge off of it because there's not too much about a hypothetical scenario like this. The most I could find was buildings and stuff and houses being built in these areas, but not specifically a parking lot. With a tropical rainforest, the parking lot would be a bit different, since there are way more animals in the tropical rainforest and a lot more trees and a lot more plants and a lot less wasteland. You'd be affecting a lot of the animals' homes. So From if I were to guess, I'd assume that even though it has a tropical rainforest has more animals and more plants and trees and more to be affected with a parking lot, I still don't think it would affect the animals too much. I think it would affect the humans more than the animals because since the tropical rainforest is so huge and there's basically so many places for an animal to live there. I would assume that if an animal were to have their home ruined by a parking lot of all things, it would be relatively easy for them to just move on and find another place to live. Even though there's not as much wasteland as a desert, I think it would still be easy for an animal because in the grand scheme of things, a parking lot is very small in terms of a whole biome. So I think building one parking lot would affect animals more than it would in the desert, but at the same time, it would be just as easy for them to move on and find another place to live. I would say that a parking lot in the desert would get a whole lot more visitors from animals, not humans. And humans, of course, but the humans would be more affected by animals coming in and out of curiosity and maybe even making the parking lot their home. If you were to plop a parking lot in the middle of a rainforest, I do believe animals would make their way there. And and a lot of plants too, vines and trees and moss and all that. So yeah, that's how I think that would affect both biomes, and that's basically it. That's what I found. That's the research I found. I hope I answered them to the best of my knowledge and the best I could. But yeah, that's my video format test 4. Thank you for listening.